Welcome to the Cult Film Showdown's controversial Saturday morning cartoons series, where we're looking at cartoons that were based on properties that probably shouldn't have had cartoons. And I'm Jim Cotta, one of the many hosts of the Cult Film Showdown. I'm joined by one of the other many hosts of the Cult Film Showdown, Nick Boxer.
Hey ho!
And scarfing down his Mr. T's cereal, Jack Hall.
Oh, tastes like gold chains.
Did you say it tastes like a golden shower?
Looked like one. It's just it's like knockoff Captain Crunch.
Gold chains, Mr. T. I got it. Sorry, slow on the uptake there.
Don't search for that on the internet either. All right. Well, we have talked about the two RoboCop cartoons, and we've talked about Rambo, which is kind of the legendary, controversial cartoon based on R-rated films. But right now, we're going to talk about a series that was based on movies that wouldn't even be R-rated in a right-thinking world. We're talking about Toxic Crusaders from 1991. And Jack, why don't you give us some background on what the heck Toxic Crusaders is?
Toxic Crusaders is a 13-episode 1991 cartoon, Saturday morning cartoon based on the Toxic Avenger film series. At the time that this had come out, there had been the original Toxic Avenger, 1984, and Toxic Avengers Parts 2 and 3. It both came out in 1989, filmed as one film, and then they realized they had so much footage they could turn it into two. So it's Troma. It's Lloyd Kaufman. So neither film is good, probably for that reason. But this is, as you say, it's unrated fare instead of rated R, and easily the most offensive, trashy, not for kids, not for most human beings content of any product that we're gonna like. As violent as RoboCop was, the violence, the squishing of graphic squishing of the head of a child and things like that is a whole other level. So the fact that they made this into a cartoon is rather amazing. This Toxic Crusaders actually has a video game that I believe either just released or it's just about to release. The project is still out there.
Nice. And,
it was Lloyd Kaufman believes that this was his chance to get rich and become a wealthy man if it had gone into syndication, and it did not. And he blames the big corporations for that. It's too bad. If this had gone into syndication, apparently there was talk of a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Toxic Crusaders crossover, and that would have ruled.
Yeah, actually, I'm surprised for such a adult property how well the stupidness blended into a cartoon. This is a legitimately good, funny cartoon.
Yeah, this is very enjoyable. It's written by Chuck Lorre. The Chuck Lorre did 2.5 Men and Big Bang Theory, Young Sheldon, won Emmys producing for Roseanne's show and all that type of stuff. I mean, he's known as the king of the sitcoms, and it's the only episode he wrote, but there was good lineage in most of the people who are the writers in the show, who've written for things like Carol Burnett and Three's Company and different shows that were big hits. And it's the property itself is, as I say, it's not for kids. It's not for most adults. But it is extremely immature. It's Troma, and that's the way you can. Troma will offend most people with what it is, but it's never serious in anything. Yes, it's got homophobic jokes. Yes, the characters could be rapey. It's extremely violent, but it's very, very immature in its humor and its tone the whole time. So for that reason, it translated well into a cartoon series.
Yeah, some of the jokes actually feel like they could have been out of the the movie because they are, they're almost an adult joke, but then they'll throw in a nonsensical punchline, like they're leading you up to like a dick joke, and then just something not that is the punchline. Nick, what does he say he's going home to do? What was that line?
Going home. He was going home to clean his mop, wax his chicken. And quite frankly, I had to take a little break after that particular line to recover myself, so I don't remember the rest of it.
Yeah, smell his armpits was the third one.
Smell his armpits. Yeah. that was just funny, but it was clean as long as you're not an adult with your own baggage going into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes the chicken is just a chicken.
It's a really weird property. I mean, when you take a property that's about a 98-pound nerd, who is tricked into wearing a tutu to be made fun of, and then falls in and becomes a superhero into some toxic waste, retaining the pink tutu, but now being a creature of abnormal size and mutated strength, or whatever it is that they said. They said it like 15 times in the show. You'd think I could remember. They say it in the movie like 1,500 times.
Super deformed
creature of
I can't do it either. I thought I could.
Super deformed, abnormal creatures of abnormal size and strength, or something like that. Something like that.
Superhero,
Anyways,
not creature.
Yeah. Well,
something like that.
Doesn't matter. It's a good line.
It's a good line. They use it all the time. It's actually really funny the way they keep on repeating it. And they repeat it in other episodes too. And like I say, they repeated it in the movie. And but yeah, I mean, I think that Chuck Lorre clearly knew he was working for a man who's insane. The property's insane. Leaned into it and created a really quirky, funny, and suitable for kids TV show.
Yeah, I didn't see this at the time. I guess I was in just the wrong age when it came out, and I don't think I had seen Toxic Avenger yet. I think I didn't see that until like after I was out on my own. I don't think I could have slipped that one past my mom, no matter how many times I slipped other R-rated films or Die Hard past her at the rental store. I don't think Toxic Avenger would have made it past. But it is
amazing. It is though how many. It's amazing back in the day. I mean, this product, like I say, is offensive. How many kids saw this thing? Because it looked like a superhero movie. It looked like Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing's a PG movie, and it looks like Swamp Thing. It's not. It's far more. And the funny thing is, it only ramps up as the series goes on. By the time 2000 came out, I think it was 2000 or 2004, somewhere between 2000 and 2004, that Citizen Toxie, Toxic Avenger 4 came out, and that was by far the most extreme. I mean, it opens up, I believe, with like a school shooting on Take a Mexican to Lunch Day, if I remember correctly. Like, oh yeah, it's wrong on so many levels. And again, it's nobody but Troma would even try and get away with this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I hadn't seen the cartoon till this point is I kind of loved how batshit insane the original was. And I wasn't on board for, some bastardization of the cartoon into a child format. But I'm just so surprised this thing worked. But it worked. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched an episode that Lloyd Kaufman himself wrote with Michael Hertz, and I can't remember the third guy who was credited, but because I wanted to see how that would compare to the Chuck Lorre one. And it's not as good, but it still maintains that charm, that funny, quirky energy that somehow is making this work. And the fact that it just seems so everybody, even the villains, are so silly that they're not, that it's not overly offensive, and it's just friendly and likable. You know, even the villains are likable in this.
I got to say that Dr. Killemoff is one of my favorite character names ever. That's just I just laughed the first time it's like they had probably said it a couple times and then it stuck in me. I'm like, Killemoff. Oh, that's awesome.
I thought
and,
that
and
was
his
cool.
whole and his whole motivation is he wants to pollute the entire world, and and he hasn't he hasn't yet finished polluting Jersey. That's
Tromaville is the only place in Jersey. Tromaville, New Jersey is the only place that he hasn't gotten to yet. We never did get Nick to explain this cartoon or tell people the
oh
plot
yeah.
of it.
Oh, well,
And that's always a highlight of the show. So please,
sure.
Nick, go ahead.
The plot of the show is quite simple. Our villain, Dr. Killemoff, he's a villain, as you can tell from the name. That's all you need to know about him. His motivation is polluting the entire world for reasons. The last place in New Jersey he has to pollute is Toxiville. So he sends a barrel of goop, toxic goop, to Tromaville. Our hero, a nerd, accidentally falls in and becomes the Toxic Avenger, a being of superhuman strength and stature. He finds a mop, he finds a couple friends, gets a girlfriend, and defeats the bad guy without really too much trouble. This is fun. It is funny. The girlfriend plays an accordion. The end. You don't have to know anything about the Toxic Avenger.
I love that the girlfriend, I believe her name is Lucy in the first film, Claire in the second and third film, back to Lucy in the fourth film, and somebody else in this one. And in the films is blind, and that's why she doesn't mind that he's hideously deformed. But in this one, she's just short-sighted. Just she needs glasses, and they aren't very good. But even when she sees them, she's not offended. She finds them handsome.
Yeah, even once
The
she gets
voice acting
glasses,
is
she
so
just
good.
goes, don't wear a tie.
Yeah, she didn't like
The
his
voice
tie.
acting is so good. The voice acting, especially on that character, because his girlfriend talked exactly like that in the movie too. Like the voice acting is fantastic in this thing.
I even like the fact that his mother shows up occasionally just for shits and giggles. And all the names are great. I mean, the Toxic's buddy, the nose guy. What was his name?
No zone.
No Zone. That is sort of great. I mean, and his origin. I mean, he crashes his plane into a toxic pepper plant.
And it's radiation that came through the hole in the ozone layer, isn't it? And that's why he's
maybe.
no zone.
I don't know. It was the pepper thing that just sort of got me. It's a character whose superpower is sneezing. And by the way, his toy has a slime gimmick.
Oh no. Oh. Well,
That's
I always love this part of the show. Nick, what were the toys that came out for this thing? Because this was one that was definitely about pushing toys.
I think this whole cartoon was sort of a ploy to capitalize upon the Ninja Turtles. Playmates, who made all the Turtles toys, I get the feeling they did not want to pay by the third or fourth season of the Turtles to have the Turtles' name on them. So they launched this cartoon, had a ton of toys coming from that all fit in the same style as the Turtles. So they're all very wacky, very turtlesque designs, and there are tons of them. Every character, and I mean every episode, I think in this cartoon, you have a new few characters introduced. It's a lot of fun. They had vehicles too.
And great voice work in this. There was the sidekick of Killemoff. His voice just rang in my head. I'm like, I can picture him. It was Michael Pollard, and known from Scrooge is the one that I would know him most from because I watched it every couple of years. Uh, I'm looking at the. Actually, I've gotten distracted by the toys again. I loved Killemoff's attack helicopter. So Killemoff has this kind of breathing. It's not quite a gas mask, but he has this breathing device on his face that is the same as the front of the helicopter. That it's also got this kind of nozzle on the front of it.
This was indeed. I mean, apparently this was created, and New Line had the rights. They had made the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, and were negotiating rights to make a sequel. And in negotiating the rights to make the sequel, they didn't want to give up as much as the creators of TMNT wanted, Eastman and Laird. So they were negotiating with them and wanted to get a better deal. So they leveraged the fact they could make a movie out of Toxic Crusaders, which is hilarious because it already had a movie. They probably weren't even aware. They leveraged that to get a better deal with TMNT. And so Troma actually ended up suing New Line and won undisclosed amount in the lawsuit.
Oh, that's awesome. They do bear a strong resemblance to the Turtles type figure. Just the way that especially Toxie himself, who looks like He-Man. The bow-legged stance, very wide shoulder figures. A lot different than the G.I. Joe and Star Wars that had been done before. Although the Star Wars that came right after these are notorious for having that style figure, for having super buff Luke Skywalker and so on, and Leia for some reason. You can see a bit of that Turtles influence too, because one of the toys is that Toxie has a skateboard. The Crusader skater, which is like a tricked out skateboard that's about the size of a small car.
And I believe some of the leftover toys were actually repurposed later on as Turtles toys.
Oh, nice.
Episode 10, which I watched, and that was the one written by Kaufman, actually has a moment where the nose zone?
Nose zone's the big nose guy, yeah.
Yeah. Where he and another character get like washed out on a giant wave of water out of their toxic shack or whatever that they're living in the garbage, and he says cowabunga. So I mean he yells cowabunga. So like the
it's pretty self-aware.
Yeah, pretty self-aware, exactly.
Oh, I love it. There are some messed up figures in this set for sure. It looks like a lot of them came with a glow-in-the-dark radioactive substance. Secret toxic glow-in-the-dark. I love that you put right on the packaging that there's something toxic in it. That was
well, apparently one of the things that it created was a little instruction booklet in each of the things, an instruction booklet on how to create toxic waste stuff and dump in your house, or to create some toxic, like some way to make a mess of your house, was one of the things that they included a little instruction manual in the toys, which I'm sure made the parents ecstatic.
That was like that fascination with goo just comes up every few years. I know my niece just went through whatever they call the goop or no, goop's the stuff that's harming our whole society.
I believe slime is the current
just
phrase.
Slime, yeah. Made popular by Slimer, but still recycled every few years because apparently you can't copyright the word slime.
I got to say, apparently it was either the toys or I think it was the commercials. They said the tagline was about the toys was, "They're gross, but they still get the girls."
That's got a whole lot of things happening.
I know. Troma.
You two can get the girl if she loses her contact lenses. This one was just, it was very silly, very fun. It reminded me of, I think it would have been a little bit after this, but Eek the Cat and especially Earthworm Jim. That they had a bit of gross humor, a bit of humor that was aimed a little older than its actual audience, and some clever wordplay. I do love that at one point Toxie knocks a bad guy into a toxic barrel, and the guy just gets different superpowers.
Yes.
Instead of what might have happened, which is he dissolves into the tank, ready for more.
Becomes one of the regular villains. Bone, what was it, Sawbones or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Bonehead was his name.
Bonehead, that's it. Yeah.
I think if you're expecting any sort of logic, you're. I mean,
You're barking
even
up the wrong
Toxie
tree.
gets turned into a giant monster. He goes home, and his mother, like, although I guess kindly kicks him out because he doesn't even try to move back in with her. It's like, no, you got to go live at the dump. And
Yeah.
she says it in such a friendly, like, non-confrontational way that it's like, okay, so everyone's just always happy in this universe.
Yeah, don't look for a lot of looking for logic in this cartoon is it's not going to get you far.
Yeah, the line, accordion is in trouble, doesn't really register as odd in this. It's funny as hell, but not.
That's right. Well, they give Toxic Avenger the spider sense. He glows.
Yes, he has
glows
spider
blue
sense.
and can sense crime.
Yes,
And
and
evil.
not just like direct crime, because I believe even in the first episode, he senses that political shenanigans are going on over at the orphanage. That Dr. Killemoff's trying to buy the orphanage and turn it into a toxic waste dump. I don't know.
His spider sense works way better than Spider-Man's. Like Spider-Man's just
That's what I was
danger, which
thinking.
could be anything, but his seems to just tell him stuff. He has a lot more information from that funny feeling.
Yeah, well, I mean, this also had I mentioned that has a video game that either was recently released or is about to release. I can't recall, but it had a video game back in the day that was awful. And Lloyd Kaufman did a review of it with the Angry Video Game Nerd, where they were playing it together. And that video is worth checking out. It is quite amazing. And they had a cartoon book, one in the UK that was done, and then Marvel Comics also was doing one in North America, and it had people like Ann Nesenti and the legendary Steve Gerber, write some issues, and I bet you that's a lot of fun too. I bet you it's as fun as the cartoon.
Nice.
I think that came through Lloyd's friendship with Stan Lee.
Most likely.
I don't know that the game that's on Steam looks pretty fun.
Yeah, that's the new one. Is it out yet?
That'd be the planned release of 24, but it looks like there's a demo. So I know what I'm doing with my afternoon. Although it actually looks like the old Turtles arcade game is what it looks like.
Oh, that's great.
I do love those. All right, what else is there? Anything else we can say about Toxic Crusaders?
Likelihood to go back and watch the film series because of watching this? What is your likelihood?
I did watch. I'd watched the Nukem High series all through when the second part of the last part came out, and I started going into more Troma films, and I think I made it like halfway through 2 and gave up on Toxic Avenger. But maybe I just should skip 2 and 3 and like go forward to 4, because I think there's 6 of them now.
4 is a direct sequel to number 1, and ignores. It opens with Stan Lee apologizing, doing a voiceover apologizing for 2 and 3 because they know it was rotten. That's the word.
Oh, that's awesome.
Is what they said. So yeah, you should just go to 4. 4 is way over the top too. But I mean, hey, I'm kind of a little turned off from all Troma movies, having seen the last Nukem High with all the fat man and small male genitalia close-ups. Probably a third of the film.
Didn't they also have that in Poultrygeist, but it was a good movie?
This was a whole other level.
Okay. I will go back and watch the Toxic Avenger. I think first I will have to binge watch this cartoon because, as I said, I kind of loved it. And then maybe I'll just start with 4. I remember those sequels were a rough watch. Even the first one is kind of a rough watch.
It's a Troma film. I love Troma films, but like they entertain me so much, but they are so self-aware schlocky, but so much fun at the same time. Nevertheless, when I watch one, I always feel like I need to shower after. And to explain why Lloyd Kaufman, why this probably wasn't going to be a huge property regardless, he blames the big corporations. Can you explain you can probably do it better than me, Nick. Explain the Sergeant Kabuki Man story.
Lloyd got a development deal with a Japanese businessman to try to develop Sergeant Kabuki Man into a Batman Kenner type property and make a ton of money. However, during the filming of Sergeant Kabuki Man, which this businessman did send the cast and crew to Japan to film, Lloyd had to insert a shot of a snake inserting itself into a human anus because Lloyd thought that was funny and on brand. But completely negating the financial ramifications that would have on the property as a whole.
He's taking it from a
Lloyd is true to himself, man. And I mean, I like Sergeant Kabuki Man, and that scene isn't even funny. Probably a bad business decision.
Terrible business decision. It cost him a lot of money because it took it made it an R-rated property instead of a PG property that he had promised to deliver for the toy lines and the different merchandise. And it's because his artistic vision was a snake entering a man's anus.
That said, do you think Sergeant Kabuki Man had a chance, even if the movie had come out PG?
No, but
it was a bad idea off the start. They conned a Japanese business guy to fly him to Japan. That's all.
Where they filmed some scenes for Toxic Avenger 4 at the same time, by the way.
Oh, that's right.
Toxic in Japan. And they put a guy in a suit and had him walking around in Japan for some, yeah.
Amazing.
They use that a businessman's resources to the maximum, as Troma will do. If you haven't seen any of the making of documentaries that are out there, be it the one on Poltergeist or the one on Toxic Avenger 4, that star Lloyd Kaufman and show his insanity and the incredible guerrilla filmmaking techniques that are used and the horrible conditions the crew and cast is living in and everything. They're unbelievably compelling. These are great Oscar-worthy winning documentaries about Troma films. Like they're amazing. The best films they have as far as high quality films, and Kaufman does not generally come across very well in this.
No, the entire Troma Studios philosophy was to ask, is this a good idea? And then do it anyway.
Yep.
His books, if you can track them down, are just they're Bibles for independent filmmakers. All of the
Definitely.
stuff that he's talking about, just all of it holds. Um, especially everything I needed to know about movies I learned from the Toxic Avenger is one of the books. And yeah, it really useful rules, like really useful advice, like always film the nudity on your first day, so that if the actress changes her mind, you can fire her. Real practical things.
No, but
Lloyd Kaufman.
you're making it sound like these books are useful, and they are, but they're not focused.
No.
I mean, what you just said, absolutely true. A lot of filmmaking advice in there. But in that book you mentioned, there is a chapter on him sleeping with African prostitutes.
Again, like, if
yeah, I'm just saying, if you're just going for the film advice, be warned.
The thing is, and then he did Make Your Own Damn Movies series and everything like that, which is a book and DVDs, I believe. But yeah, all I need to know about filmmaking I learned from the Toxic Avenger was supposed to be only him talking about filmmaking. That was what it was. Instead, he's talking about things that are going on in his personal life and his wife's battle with cancer and all this stuff and then it has like side notes where he's like getting notes from the editor going, that has nothing to do with filmmaking. What are you doing? And it's so incredible. Again, it's the mind of Lloyd Kaufman. I remember when I met him at a horror convention and spent some time talking to him. Spent about 20 minutes just talking to him. Made him laugh so hard, and that was a highlight of my life. The guy was really smart. I asked him if the scene in Return to Nukem High, where the duck is walking down the street and everybody's acting all surprised, I'm like, was that guerrilla filmmaker? And he goes, no, that was something you rarely see in a Troma movie, acting. And and then I said, you want to probably put me in one of your films now because I'm a fat guy. And he goes, oh, no, we don't want to put your penis on film. The widescreen won't be big enough. I go, are you kidding me? I'm hung like a pimple. And he just lost it. And it was great times. I treasured my time having spent a few minutes with Lloyd Kaufman. Crazy man that he is.
Fabulous man, yeah.
Although I believe we did take some people to a premiere that followed our meeting him.
Yeah, Riley Rossmo, a comic book artist, who is well known working for DC. Currently, I think he's working this. Is it Sandman he's currently working on?
Sandman, yeah, and he did a run on Harley Quinn not long ago. So yeah, pretty hot property at DC.
Yeah, I mean, and he's worked Constantine, and he's done some Superman and Batman, and like he's a big star in the comic industry. And he and his wife attended the screening with it. They did wait till I think the film was almost over before leaning over to us and go, "We have to leave now." But yeah, it was something.
My sitter texted and she wants us to leave. She doesn't need us back. She just wants us out of here. Well, I think going in without any prep to Nukem High. I don't know how you prep someone for that if they've never seen a Troma
we could have worked a little bit harder on that. Plus, I mean, it was the perfect theater to see in it because didn't like the week before the place was flooded and it was still damp and there was some sort of natural disaster. I know the theater had to be shut down not long after.
Yes, from old and stuff. Yeah, so perfect.
Oh, just.
I remember
my Crusaders. Everybody watch them. I watched them on YouTube. I think you guys watch them on Tubi. YouTube has a. I don't know if the Tubi one does. The YouTube has a commentary from Kaufman. I think it's the same commentary in every one, talking about the how he got screwed by the big corporations. So he gives an opening. It's worth seeing. It's very entertaining, and that's definitely something I think everybody should check out. Is this series? It is the most entertaining of the cartoons we've done so far. Excuse me, of the 4 cartoons we've done so far.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, I really like this one, and it, you know, a short enough run that I'm not. I when I say I'm going to watch the rest, I may actually watch the rest. Um,
Actually, to facilitate that, does anyone know if the Toxic Crusaders movie is just the first 3 episodes edited together, or is it
I would think so. Yeah.
different?
No, I think it is that it's 3 or 4 episodes. Um, that's what they did with. Yeah, like that was a regular VHS era thing. Because yeah, just to get the extra mileage out of the show, um, and more mileage than you got if you did a box set, uh, which you would do later once, like on DVD, you wouldn't release like 4 episodes. But yeah, that would be my guess, and that's also why, like when we watch these other ones, we've seen RoboCop Alpha Commando was a 3-part premiere because that's a good length for like a disc.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Troma now is $5 a month, and I'm sure you can watch all of them on there, as well as all the other Troma documentaries and subjects. But it's not Troma who's put up the cartoons, I don't believe, on YouTube, but he does consistently reference how these are high quality DVD quality cartoons. So I mean, there's a recent 4K for no reason. Toxic Avenger apparently looks great, but there's a 4K, like $150, Toxic Avenger 4K set that just came out. I don't know that you need 4K for Toxic Avenger, but the special features are amazing looking, and there's the upcoming movie with Peter Dinklage as the star, I believe, and Kevin Bacon, I believe, plays the villain. So, that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm sure it apparently is not going to be PG-13. They were originally going to make it that. And it apparently goes into the proper, not kid-friendly atmosphere that we want out of something like Toxic Avenger.
Oh, fabulous.
I don't know. I kind of now want like a live action Toxic Crusaders movie.
Yeah, me too. It would have been hilarious if they had turned around and made one that was for kids, like, because I can just imagine
that been great.
At the video store, the confusion for parents on which one to rent, and the amount of times the wrong one would have been just worth
$1
million.
The Crusader Avenger thing, I think, is actually not a hugely bad concession.
Yeah, they changed. It was originally called the Toxic Avenger cartoon, but it was considered too controversial due to the nature of the films, so they changed the name.
Distance them from your own property. That's I think, and just not to telegraph too much, but I think the next animated series should have done a bit more distancing itself from its original property.
Or less, either or.
Or less.
How could it distance itself more from its original property?
If it could have distanced itself by not using the same name, was what I was getting at there.
I see what you mean, yeah. Because I would like to distance myself from having watched it.
Next time we'll be talking about the 1994 Highlander, the animated series, which I did not know was a thing until we started setting up to do this season. So that was Toxic Crusaders. We've listed a bunch of places to watch it. This is the one I would recommend the most so far. Rambo was really enjoyable, but I think this is the one I would recommend. And so we are the Cult Film Showdown. We are on Instagram and we are on YouTube. Please subscribe there. We're on every podcast app. Please subscribe there. And we have Patreon where you can support our ongoing work. Talking about cartoons is what we're doing right now. We don't know what comes after that, but you pay us enough money and it can be whatever you like. And we are sponsored by WeTalkPodcasts.com, the home of the Octagon, where you can keep track of our whole search for the ultimate B movie. And We Talk Podcasts has a Facebook and they have a Twitter.
X.
And X, yes. Didn't learn a thing from Prince. Like, it doesn't matter what you change your name to. They're just going to call you formerly known as Twitter, like every article. that mentions it. It's just formerly known as Twitter.
It's so funny. It's true. All right, guys, that was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
All right. See you next time for Highlander.